In the heartland of America, nestled between rolling cornfields and quiet woodlands, lies the town of Watseka, Illinois. It's an unassuming place, peaceful even. But in the winter of 1878, this rural town became the epicenter of a story so strange, so unsettling, it would go on to be known as America's first documented case of spiritual possession. This is the chilling true story of a young girl who seemingly became someone else. Her name was Lurency Venom, 13 years old. Polite, curious, ordinary, until she wasn't. It began in the summer of 1877. Lurency had been complaining of strange sensations, a sense of floating, of being pulled from her body. Then came the seizures, violent and unexplained. Her parents were horrified. Their once healthy daughter would slip into trances, remain motionless for hours, then speak of visiting heaven and talking with angels. Sometimes she would describe dead relatives, people she couldn't have known. At first, local doctors were baffled. Some called it hysteria, others suspected epilepsy. But the truth was, no one had any answers. Then the voices came. In her trances, Lurency began speaking in different tones and accents, sometimes as an old woman, other times a young man. One name kept returning, a name that made the townspeople whisper, Mary Roth. Now here's where the story twists. Mary Roth had lived in Watseka too, just a few blocks from the Venoms. 12 years earlier, she had suffered similar symptoms, seizures, trance-like states, visions. She'd been confined to an asylum where she ultimately died. The community remembered her, some with pity, others with fear. When Mary's father, Asa Roth, heard about Lurency, he was struck by the similarities. The seizures, the voices, the visions of the afterlife. But Asa Roth wasn't just a grieving father. He was a spiritualist, a man who believed in the thin veil between the living and the dead. And he believed his daughter was trying to come back, through Lurency. Desperate to save their daughter from being institutionalized, the Venoms agreed to meet Asa Roth. He proposed an alternative to the asylum: allow Lurency to be examined by a spiritist physician named Dr. E. Winchester Stevens. Dr. Stevens traveled to Watseka and spent weeks observing the girl. What he witnessed astounded him. Lurency would enter deep trances, calling herself Mary. She referred to Asa and his wife as father and mother, and recounted detailed memories of the Roth family, events, names, and private stories she should never have known. In one chilling account, she described in vivid detail the layout of the Roth family home, where furniture had been placed, which door creaked, even the view from Mary's old bedroom window. Stevens later wrote, "It is the most remarkable case of spirit return and manifestation ever recorded in the history of spiritualism." But it didn't stop at conversation. Lurency, now seemingly Mary, asked to live with the Roths, and they agreed. For the next 15 weeks, she lived under their roof, ate at their table, slept in Mary's old bed. She played piano for visitors and greeted neighbors as if she had never left. Even Mary's childhood friends claimed to recognize her gestures, her laugh, her expressions. To them, she was Mary Roth. But not everyone believed. Some townspeople whispered that the Roths had planted the story, that they were manipulating a vulnerable girl for their own grief. Others accused Dr. Stevens of sensationalism, promoting the case to further his spiritualist agenda. Still, there were details that defied easy explanation. When skeptics tested Lurency with specific questions, things only Mary would know, she answered correctly. When challenged with inconsistencies, she maintained character. And when local ministers tried to pray over her, she responded not with fear, but with calm certainty. "I am not evil. I'm only here for a while." The possession, if that's what it was, eventually faded. Lurency slowly returned to her old self. She moved back in with her family. She spoke less and less about Mary, until the memory dissolved into silence. Years later, she married a man named George Binning. moved out of state, and raised a family. She never had another episode, and according to reports, she lived a long, quiet life. So what happened in Watseka? Was this the return of a restless spirit? Or was it an elaborate case of psychological projection, dissociative identity disorder, mass suggestion, or even grief weaponized as belief? The medical community remains divided. Some psychologists argue it was a classic case of hysteria, shaped by cultural beliefs and reinforced by attention. Others point to the phenomenon known as cryptomnesia, unconsciously recalling information previously observed or overheard. But there's one detail no skeptic can easily dismiss. Before any of this began, before Lurency had even met the Roth family, she wrote the name Mary Roth in her journal. No one knew why, and she never explained it. Today, over a century later, the case continues to intrigue paranormal researchers and psychologists alike. It has been cited in textbooks, documentaries, and spiritualist circles as one of the most compelling possession stories on record. And the town of Watseka has never quite shaken its ghost. The house where Mary Roth once lived still stands. Locals say it feels cold inside, even in the height of summer. Visitors have claimed to hear footsteps on empty stairs, music playing faintly in the night, or a voice whispering through the hallways. A girl's voice. And maybe, just maybe, the spirit of Mary Roth isn't done speaking. So we ask you, was Lurency Venom truly possessed by the soul of a dead girl? Or was it all in her mind, a mind shaped by trauma, community fear, and the desperate need to believe? Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain. The story of the Watseka Wonder continues to haunt American history. If you enjoy true horror stories like this, dark corners of history, unexplained cases, and real-life chills, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to The Silent Scream for more eerie tales that blur the line between reality and nightmare. And tell us in the comments, was this possession or something else entirely? Sleep tight.